a long, hard season for you, so I appreciate you taking the time out of your day. I suppose we'll just start with the beginning of your tenureship with the club. Last season, obviously a really poor year for the club with only 3 wins in total, but you guys came in at the end of the season and steadied the ship, and the players looked like they got a fighting spirit, which helped the fans get on side. How important have the fans been for you two this season personally?
Yeah, I think I'll take that first one then. I think the fans have been massive, even from the minute we got the job with the kind of 2-3 games left, whatever we had, at the end of last season. I remember us going down to Kelty, and obviously we played really well that day and got beat and got relegated, but the fans clapping us on the bus that day was something that a lot of us who were there won't forget, and I think right from that moment it was a real determination from us, if we weren't determined enough already, to then make sure we got this club back to where it was. Obviously we fell slightly short on the promotion, but I feel like we've given the fans something to be proud of again.
There's a lot of ins and outs in the summer with 12 arrivals and departures. How important was it for you to get the right level between experience and youthful exuberance?
I think it was quite clear what needed done at the end of the previous season in our interim charge. We established a lot of players that needed to go. We'd done that quite quickly, and then it was really just drawing up a summer plan of getting the right player in, the right calibre, experience and age. We've done a lot of, I would say, background work into the type of player that we're looking to bring into the club, and overall I think pretty much everyone that we brought in was a success and contributed at key parts this season. And it's the exact same again for this season. We'll be looking to get players in and out, and it just has to be the right quality and right player for us to improve as a team on the park as well.
Kieran Shanks came in on loan in January 2023 and became a real crucial player at their side in the second half of last season. How important was it to get him signed up really early on a 2-year deal?
It was, yeah. It was one of the first things we pretty much done. As Ryan said, we're kind of at a similar spot at this moment as we're speaking. We're thinking towards the next season and recruitment for that. So, touching back on Shanks, I think I think everyone sees how important he is. I think he'll be the first to say he thought he would get more goals this season, but I think what this season will do for him is he'll have learned so much. He's played I think the most minutes out of everyone. He obviously missed a couple of games of suspension as well, but he's always available. He's always fit. He's hungry to succeed. He's willing to improve, and I think what he hasn't got in rewards is his goals so far. But even in the last 6 months of last season, I think, but to still get the 3 or 4 that he got last season was impressive in the team we had and in the difficult situation we had. But I think his goal contribution in total were really good, and we can't wait to see him back in Hungary and better again next year, and see what happens beyond that.
Last season we didn't win a single game away from home. How crucial was it to put down a marker in the opening game of the season against the pre-season favourites amongst the bookies in East Fife?
Yeah, I mean, I think League One was a difficult season for us. It was pretty well documented under Jim and David's tenure that we had a difficult season, especially in terms of the league and the calibre you're up against. We didn't win away from home. That summer turnaround, getting the players in, first game away from East Fife, it's not something that we looked at hitting the ground running at all, but it happened, and it probably put a positive spin on things. Going down to the pre-season bookies' favourites, so you could say. We went down there, we were convincing, and it set us up for a good start of the season, but it's not something that we must say that we looked at to lay out the marker in terms of the away stuff.
And on the back of that result, the club then go ahead and re-sign local legend Rory McAllister, and brings a real lift into the team as well. It
was, yeah. Obviously, I think everyone was well documented that we didn't have a number 9 and we didn't have a number 4. In the squad numbers that we kind of issued at the start of the season, the squad was really good. Like we say, we recruited a really good balance between young and old, north and south, all that kind of things, and that was there. And I think Ryan had a conversation with him on the golf course. We're obviously all kind of pals, and I'd spoken to the guys at Montrose that I knew, and just seen if there was an opportunity there. And everything worked out perfect for Rory to come back, and I think not just on the pitch but off the pitch he'll continue to have a really good influence. He maybe is coming towards the end of his playing career, but as you've seen recently, he's going to be part of our coaching staff in some form next year. And I think for the guys like Shanks, even Aaron Reid at the start of the season, he probably found it difficult when Rory came in. But Roars is, and he had his niggles as well, but I think his overall contribution, I think, can be looked at as a success. And yeah, he's one person who's got nothing to prove at the club, and we still hope we can be effective in certain situations on the pitch next year for sure.
I think just looking into the Rory thing, one thing was fitting about him coming back and us wanting him back was that he's dedicated a lot of years and hard graft and reward to Peterhead Football Club. It was only really fitting that we brought him back and he can finish his career here as well. And like Jordan says, he contributed a decent amount last year, and hopefully he's still got that in him for the new season.
Yeah, I think his desire to come back as well was something that, we've talked about wanting the right people at the club. Obviously we know Rory inside out, but I think his desire and willingness to want to come back was something that was massive for us as well. Players that want to come and play for this club, we can't get enough of them, so it's good.
After a few mixed results early in the season, we'd really had a purple patch, winning 10 out of 12 and arguably played our best football of the campaign. How vital was this stretch in solidifying our position as title challengers?
Yeah, I think the 2 games prior to that was a home loss to Spartans and an away loss to Strachan. Then we had a sort of break from the league duties. I think we went to Annan and sort of fiddled about with shape, personnel, and really put on a good performance down at Annan under similar circumstances to the Strachan game the week before, where it was about 26 degrees and bone dry and long travel as well, so we put on a positive performance against a team that was a league above us, and that probably set us up for the next 6 or 7 weeks for the league until we had that Dundee United break. It was good that we managed to change the shape. I think it was the first time we managed to get Rory and Kieran in the same team as well, and they hit the ground running. They were excellent that day, and like I say, it really set us up for the league campaign, which was obviously the main priority for us this season, was stabilising. And that spell that we went on, the form, you can look at it as our best period of gaining points throughout that season. I think we were 19 points from Q1, is that right? Yeah, so we really did get off to a good start, and it helped build that momentum and that culture change that we're trying to really implement. And
yeah, mentality in that as well. I think the winning helps everyone, doesn't it? And I think that winning start that we had, obviously we had a couple of disappointing ones in between it all when we were maybe just before Rory had come in, and then Rory came in and we had a disappointing one at Strachan. But I think after that, I think the mentality switched and players started to believe again, because it's incredible actually how many players were there the year before as well, and they then were part of that. It was changing them, making them believe that they are good players and they can win football matches for us, and I think that showed. It's interesting you touched about the most successful period of the season. It seemed like that way, and it was probably evidential that way from points. But I know we'll probably go into it a bit later in the season. I think from January defeated Dumbarton, I think that's when we had the strongest kind of solid structure and shape to us, and that is something that we're definitely to build on.
And then we did have a really poor run maybe after that 10-12 games. A lot of people maybe will see it as a downfall in terms of us competing for the league. I remember speaking to you guys around the time and asking if I had a spare pair of boots because we only had 11 bodies on the Tuesday. Would you argue it's probably tougher to deal with an injury crisis at a part-time club than a full-time club?
Yeah, I think so. I think you also only see the players 2-3 times a week max, but injury crisis, yeah, like we'd obviously built the squad based on having real strength and depth, where no one would weaken the side, and then it was just a case of one thing after the other. I think Scotty Ross was saying at one point he's played a lot of places, that it was probably the worst injury crisis he'd seen in his career, and I think it
wasn't just injury though, it was suspension, illness. We were hampered over Christmas, and from my point of view it was important that we sort of remained calm, but everyone forgets that, going back to your question, like injury crisis for full-time we've never done it part-time, never mind full-time, so it's hard to comment on that, but it was important that we sort of stayed calm, relayed the message to the players that we did have available. Probably the timing was the best blessing. It was in the January window as well, so that way it worked out for us.
But I think with the players, I think you only need to look through the players that did miss a chunk of the season. Hamish obviously missed a chunk after getting a re-operation. Duff misses the whole season. Jason misses 3-4 months. Andy misses probably about the same. These boys have never been injured in their careers, to that extent. So obviously Scotty missed a lot at the end of the season. Ryan was in and out at times, so no, I think that injury crisis thing, it was, but like Ryan says, 100% a learning curve for us. We had a squad there for a reason, and sometimes you are just completely depleted. I think Dev Wilson was maybe the other example who came in and done really, really well, and then he gets a freak injury against Forfar before Christmas. So yeah, it was frustrating, but again, it was a learning curve and allowed us to go into January and try and strengthen.
And I think probably a lot of people don't realise the extent of the injuries as well, because as I said, like, there was 11 people available on a Tuesday ahead of a game on a Saturday, and you look at the likes of Stenhouse-Muir there, who pretty much had 1 or 2 changes at max from 1 week to the next.
Yeah, I mean, their team was pretty solidified. It's certainly through till about February. They had the same team week in, week out, and whether that's training and playing on Astro, whether it's less travel, we don't know that. But I do remember a specific game. It was the start of January, I think, away to Strachan, and we had like 13 players available, and he got red carded, and it was at the point it was a cry for help. And like you say, if we could have got somebody with boots and then perfect. And you know, the next couple of weeks unfolded the way they did with young Alfie coming. It was a blessing, and getting Pete over the line when we tried in summer as well. So things work out for a reason, and we're glad that we managed to get them too as well.
And I think, on that period, I think, like you said, you mentioned Stenny there, you know, it ran parallel with them winning 12 games in a row, so it was one of those. Yeah, it was disappointing, but again, it's something to learn from, and I feel we reacted to it quite well.
And at that time, as you say, we'd make those 3 signings in the form of Flynn, Peter and Alfie, and opposite ends of their careers and to an extent, but all 3 made a real impact in your squad.
I think they did, yeah. I think it's without doubt they did. You know, there were 3 key players for us as the season went on. You know, like you say, even we knew what we were getting with Pete, but we probably a lot of the players on the team didn't know how good Pete was. You know, and I think that's a testament to Pete as well. He hadn't played football for 8 months or so, and he came back in, and once he found his feet, he was different class. And I think losing him in that last game of the season just was a real sore one.
We had to rush Pete back as well, just because of how thin we were, and
yeah.
He hadn't played in about
he was willing to, wasn't he?
6 or 7 months, but he'd done the work in the background with the gym and local running and stuff. So he was, credit to him, the ultimate professional that he is. He was pretty much ready to go. It did take him a few weeks to get up to speed, but I'm sure once everyone seen the real qualities that came through, the goals, assists, and just the sheer quality and running power, that he was a good one to get over the line.
Yeah, and Flynn, I think, yeah, a lot of people at the club know about Flynn already, you know, but I think it's a credit to Flynn again, because he had such a great season last season for Stirling Albion, winning the league, and then he probably thought he was going back to Dundee United to get a chance, and it never quite happened for him. So for him to bounce back, and again, we talked about he was willing to come to the club. You know, when we spoke to him, again, it's hard to make signings at any level, but again, it's half the battle when somebody's willing to come, and Flynn was very keen as soon as we spoke to him, and I think he was excellent. His consistencies for his age and his level of experience is brilliant. And then, yeah, to go on Alfie, like, yeah, we've not got enough words to describe Alfie's quality. I think he was a breath of fresh air, a surprising one, really. You know,
I think it's fair to say we didn't know anything about Alfie before we took him in. It was a bit of a.
He'd obviously scored against us at the game, the Aberdeen B game, which he liked to remind us. But yeah, I think for his whole demeanour and the way he carried himself was excellent, and he fitted right in with the group off the pitch. And yeah, just a shame, but not a shame. You know, they had such a success at the under-18s with Aberdeen that he was having to get pulled away and play for them. You know, odd midweeks, and then obviously playing the Youth Cup final, which was massive for him. So that maybe slightly restricted how much we could have used him in the latter stages of the season. But yeah, we've got nothing but praise for Alfie there, and I'm sure these boys, like you just spoke about, if we had a chance to get them back to Balmer, then it would be a bit of a no-brainer.
Obviously, we've had a really good period of getting loan players in and seeing them gone on to higher levels. You've Josh Mulligan's been in Scotland under 21 squads. You've Lyle Cameron's obviously playing every week for Dundee. How high do you think Alfie's ceiling is?
In my opinion, he's probably still another year of development, but he's talent-wise, he could play for Aberdeen. In my opinion, he could play for Aberdeen. I think he just needs a year or two to develop, become a man, maybe play League 2 or League 1 again, but for a full season. And then for me, next summer he really has to kick on with his career. And I'm not sure if you agree, but for me, not the world's his oyster, but I think Aberdeen is certainly
it's
where he should be set.
Interesting one for him, because you got a new manager coming in Aberdeen. You know, you don't know what route they're going to go down or whatever. We've obviously been in regular contact with Aberdeen as well, and Alfie's, I think his quality wise is unbelievable. I think talking about his experience for us, he had highs and lows right through it, which I think will only help him going forward. He came in, like Ryan says, without much to know about him, but then he came on. I think from the minute he came on at East Fife and went and took a corner, maybe his first one wasn't great, but after that you've seen the confidence he had, and I think obviously he gets his first start and gets sent off, and then he comes on at Forfar and scores, or before that vice versa. So he's had all that highs and lows, and that will the best thing he could have done was come on loan, and yeah, like Ryan says, we would love to work with him one more year, or wherever he goes, plays League One or whatever he wants to do, and then yeah, I think he can play for Aberdeen without doubt.
I think for me as well that he's still a teenager, he's still relatively young, but to have that confidence and swagger about him is excellent. I remember mentioning to Joe and Jamie at a Bonnyrigg away game, I just watched him in the dressing room getting ready before a game, and there was just nothing, like no emotion. He was totally psyched, totally ready and prepared to go to war for the team, and for me that mentality for a 17-year-old is just excellent.
A wee bit of frustration, although it was good to get these guys in, but losing Aaron Reid and a third choice striker off the bench potentially, obviously did start a few games, but was there frustration not being able to replace him?
Yeah, I think so. I think in a way, obviously with the way the shape kind of worked out, like we said when Rory came in, obviously Rory and Shanks hit the ground running a bit, and then we tried to spell it with the two of them, and Aaron had an impact off the bench, in games at Dumbarton and Spartans he'd done well, and that's two of the teams that competed in the playoff final. And look, Aaron took the decision to, with our kind of blessing, to go and play more regular, which happens in football, and he'd done really well in the Highland League. He's one that's got great potential, but in our regards to replace him, it wasn't a massive thing of ours, but just because the way we knew we were going to line up shape-wise the rest of the season, with that one striker probably. And obviously Rory and Shanks, it's difficult to get ahead of them too.
There's rumours going around that the club are looking to change the year they were formed to 1890 plus one due to all the late goals across the season. Which of these stand out for you as being important, or even just showing the attitude amongst the boys?
I think first of all, credit to the lads for, I know there's a lot put on most of them were for draws, but most of them were away from home as well. Credit to the lads for going. It shows their fitness, their durability, their mentality. It shows everything. It's something that we really wanted to put into the team from pre-season last year, was a bit of fighting, getting the supporters buying into what we're doing, and credit to them. I can't speak highly enough of that mentality. In terms of the one that felt the best, probably for me Forfar, just because the sheer 3-0 down at half time, dead on our feet.
I think Forfar as well, because it was the first day we'd I think that was maybe after or not long after the defeat at Dumbarton, and we went to Forfar and we said, this is the way we're going to play for the rest of the season, and we just went out and trusted it. And actually for the first 10 minutes we started really well. I think Dan had two good chances down right hand side, so I think Forfar for that second half to do what we've done, and for the boys like Alfie and that to come on. Hamish came on that day, I think Jinky came on.
I think there's a couple more though. There was not a home win when Joe got the free kick to win us a game 3-2.
Stranraer at home, Bonnyrigg at home. Shanks' penalty was our first home win, I think, to take the monkey off the back.
Elgin away, Pete's header was a good one. Clyde away, Rory's penalty.
East away, I think, was the first one, wasn't it? The first one away from home at the start of this year, and obviously we've not won enough away games this year. But yeah, like Ryan says, if we weren't going to win them, then we didn't want to lose them, and it just shows the dressing room, and it made us proud, and I'm sure the rest of the boys proud that we could then show that that we were never say die kind of thing.
They all had their own sort of meaning, but for me probably the Station Park Forfar one was
3-0 down special, is it? And it doesn't happen a lot. So. And I think if the game again, if them games had went on 5 minutes longer, we might have a chance of winning them. But yeah, that's football.
Although, as good as these late goals were, obviously Steny were also scoring late goals of their own quite a lot of the time and grinding out wins. How deflating was it sometimes coming out of the dressing room and seeing that you've managed to salvage something and they've extended a lead by 2 more points?
Yeah, I think the big thing with Steny was clean sheets, wasn't it? We often heard they were 0-0 for a lot of the time, and then they'd nick that late goal. So yeah, we've been there enough times, in the past as players, and that you come in, and sometimes you just have a feeling. I think we went neck and neck with Montrose for the league 5-6 years ago, and it was the same situation. That we scored at the end, and that's what we were trying to do at the end of the season. There in second place, we made it a wee kind of mini league between us, Dumbarton and Spartans, and we just kept them at a distance, and unfortunately, obviously in the end it never worked out, but we did secure that second place. So.
Sometimes with that as well, you control the aspects that you can control. We can control our results, we can't control Stenhouse Moors, and credit to them, they kept more clean sheets than us, and ultimately they won more points than we did. So we can't control the results. It was a wee bit deflating at the time, but we were also going through a wee sticky period that we've mentioned, and for us to be grinding out the draws was positive, but albeit we were slightly falling short in terms of the points that they were accumulating.
You mentioned earlier as well that from the 13th of January onwards, only lost one game in the form of Dumbarton. You look to really head into the playoffs with that momentum of getting those late goals. Just how frustrating was it that you couldn't really carry it on into these games? Obviously, conceding a late goal of our own away.
Yeah, I think it was. It's so disappointing. You know, this is us a week and a couple of weeks on, and it did hurt for a good few days. You know, but I think in overall reflection, I think it's been productive. And would we have done anything different in that last couple of months? I think we managed everything as well as we could have, and not just talking about me and Ryan. I'm talking about the group. We all managed each other well. We all had good momentum. We had that no defeats. You know, we set a target after Dumbarton not to get beaten. We didn't get beat.
We had buy-in from the players as well.
Yeah,
the players really were a focal point of what we were.
I think if you look at the key moment of the tie, and it's not anything but the complexity of the whole tie changed with that last minute penalty on the Tuesday night, you know, and then we obviously never got our one, and it maybe forced our hand slightly, you know, and with a big crowd at Balmoor on the Saturday, we really fancied it and went to two up front, you know, and it just, the early goal, which was a mistake by two experienced players, you know, and then another experienced player loses a man from a set piece, you know, so it deflating. But again, credit to the boys, I've said that to everyone since, like, even at 3-0 down, you know, we kept going and Danny gets a goal back and you think, you know what, you need another three and you wouldn't have put it past us. But then, again, the way it went, it just, anything that could have went wrong kind of did go wrong, and it just wasn't meant to be.
I think there was an element of gamble in the starting lineup, not in terms of personnel. The personnel that we put out was excellent. It was more going the two strikers against the best counter-attack team in League Two. And had we maybe gotten that early goal with some buts, had we gotten that early goal and crowd momentum, or had we not conceded the early goal, who knows? But we did. And
or you can rewind it back to the Tuesday, and if you don't come away with defeat, or you as much. But again, it's a learning curve, isn't it? You know, it's a learning curve for all of us. First and foremost, us as managers, you know, we're the first to put our hands up and say that we maybe got something wrong, you know. So
and we did that.
So that's the respect levels in the dressing room we've got, and I'm sure we'll all come back hungrier and stronger for it.
It's a strange one as well, seeing the fourth place side go up instead of the team that finishes second or third, or even just stays up in the league. 5 minutes from the end of that final game of the season, it looked like we would be the ones playing Dumbarton. Do you think it would have panned out a different way had we ended up with them, or is it just potluck in a playoffs?
You can't say playoffs is total luck. We mentioned in numerous interviews and to the players that you need so much things to go your way: player fitness, suspensions, illness, refereeing decisions, breaker balls. You need everything to go your way to go up in the playoffs.
And again, we could only control what you can control, and we felt we'd done that to the most we could do. But
Dumbarton go and get themselves promoted, and they're a team that we didn't particularly struggle against this season with 9 points out of 12. So it just shows you it's
but it's happened before, you know. Like I think there was, again, I mentioned the league that the season we went and Montrose won it. I think we finished something like 23 points above Steny, and Steny won the playoff. So that's the structure of it, you know. That's playoffs, and
I recall one in 2014 or 15, the Ayr United one, and we finished comfortably above them. And I think we beat them 3 or 4 times in that league season.
They nicked it above us on the last day of the season, and then just took the momentum from that, and Roars was suspended. So again, it's momentum, playoffs, luck. There's so many aspects, like Ryan says, and unfortunately, that's
the one thing that we did want to do right to the end was finish second in the league, so that, you know, we controlled the semi-final, and it was not a statement as such. A statement would have been first, but a statement that we finished above third and fourth. But there was also rumour coming out the Spartans and Dumbarton's camp that they didn't want to face us, so that's credit to us as well. But they actually wanted to finish fourth because they believed they had the easier tie, which could have ultimately maybe saved them legs for the final. I don't know.
Before the season started, the club are viewed as 6th favourites to win the league. Overall, has a second place finish been a success or does pain of the playoffs kind of linger over that?
I think the pain of the playoffs does linger, but we've all got to remember where we were, you know, 12 months ago. I think I mentioned the words kind of productive earlier. I think if we can really look back on this as a productive season, and a season where we flipped everything around at the club, that gives us a real baseline, you know, there's no point in doing that and then falling away next year again. I think, like we say, we've got 90% of the boys signed up and look to add to that. I think, of course, we can all look back and be proud, you know. You can look back, you can look right through the team. Even Jack Brown, Player of the Year, coming to mind, like someone like that who really struggled last season in a difficult setup, and and he's been outstanding. So if these guys keep improving, I think the age of a lot of the guys are a really good age for it's now up to them whether they kick on or whether they just are happy to sit in League Two, which none of us in that dressing room are.
There's been times in this season as well when the club and the community have really bound together. Example being the donations towards a new dressing room and housing the ultras. The new community trust obviously been set up by the club, and then even clearing the pitch before the Forfar game with snow. How high on your list of priorities was getting that almost feeling back with the fans, which maybe deserted us at times last season?
Yeah, I think there's about 10 elements of that question there, but I'll probably forget most of them. But for me, Peterhead hasn't had a youth team for a number of years now. We miss out on certain aspects of local talent that ultimately we should be getting our eyes on, and we're not. So even just the benefits of us getting extra bodies into training and these guys getting that opportunity to train the Peterhead first team is excellent. So it has rewards that way if we can somehow create a team and get into the leagues. Everything from the community to sponsorship to supporters and the locals just helping out with funding of dressing rooms, all that kind of things. It was majorly needed because Balmoor Stadium, it wasn't on its knees, but that dressing room definitely needed more than a lick of paint. But everything just the club's got a great feel about it just now, and that's.
I think that's a credit to the likes above us and to the side of us. I think like obviously Les and Roger driving it through from above. You've got Sharon who came in as a general manager halfway through the season. I think she's been outstanding in all aspects of the club, and even Mandy and Ken, and then guys like yourself behind the scenes. It's a real pull together, and we don't want to
stuff
stop.
with the kids and everything. It's not. I've just took the words out of my mouth. It wasn't something that we've single-handedly done. It's something that we've supported, and credit to the rest of the staff and members at the club.
I think what also helped to get things like that was recruiting someone like Aaron Smith last year, who we kind of again was pushed to us from the likes of Natty and that, who do some great work behind the scenes, and Aaron has developed brilliantly this season. I think Buckingham have missed him a lot in the last few weeks when he's been injured, and he's certainly one that we've got high hopes for the future, and we want to keep finding the next Aaron Smiths, and Danny Strachan's from the area, and really promoting these guys to go and not just play for Peterhead but beyond that.
I'll go to the supporters' questions now. There's one here which is, why did the club persist with short corners and free kicks? I know there is an answer to it. So.
I think we're always trying to think outside the box. I think in recent years, as we know, football's came on and developed, and I think every team's got a set piece coach and stuff. We're obviously not as blessed to have that. But I think even if you look at the Premier League this year, you look at Aston Villa and Arsenal, two of the most successful teams. They've scored so many goals from set pieces, and it's not just a case of putting it in the box. They always have a plan. Obviously we've got limited time, so it's a struggle. If you also look at this year, we've not always been the biggest, not always the tallest team. So we're always looking for ways. I think it's helped us with the likes of Joe and Alfie and Hamish and boys that have got a right good delivery of the ball that can do it. But we've always tried to work, maybe not just to put it in the box for 50-50, but also to try and work a shot at goal, which I think we've been relatively successful with. I think we'd like to kick on again next year and try and score, because I think if you look at Steny, and yes, people might argue they just put the ball in the box, but they had two real big guys at the back there that could go and affect it. But there's always decoys in there as well, and blockers and stuff. So there's probably slightly more to the eye, but it's something that we're continuing to work on, and hopefully that the margins can be small, but set pieces can make a big difference.
I think one of the main aspects there as well was that the pitch, certainly our home pitch, had drainage issues for months, and that our set piece takers couldn't actually get a perfect run up at the ball to get it in. So it was something that we worked on for.
Yeah, I think a lot of people at Balmoor are aware of that, aren't they? The corners can be difficult, especially when
sludgy
it's with the weather we did as well. Yeah, stuff.
How has it been balancing manager, work, and players?
I think we've both got similar sort of views on that. We're both parents, both got a full-time job, but ultimately our love and passion, not only for the club but for football in general, and the local aspect and opportunity that we've been given, just supersedes anything that that may become an obstacle. Like,
Yeah, I think
it's all positive. We want to do it. We're ambitious. We're creative, and nothing but thanks for the opportunity. And
for me, trying to forward think and improve the club.
For me, it's been heavily rewarding. Just really enjoyed the experience. Don't want the experience to end. It's just a complete roller coaster of the highs, the lows, the emotions, and even things that still get us giddy to this day is like speaking to a player, finding out their home stuff, speaking to a new player, doing the background and all that kind of stuff, and going over and above for the club, and ultimately it's for success. So
getting to share the dressing room, with the experienced guys that we've got, and lead them in a way that we want to lead them, and then obviously the young boys is the other end of the scale, where you want to see them improve, you want to see them kick on, you take a real pride in that. I think from my point of view, just echoing what Ryan said, I think the word we used from the start was embrace. We're just going to embrace it and see where it took us, and we've got that real passion and love to. It's obviously something that, like you say, not just for the club but for football in general, and you want success, and you don't want it to end until you've had success, and beyond. I think a lot changed my life last year, with the wee one and moving job and stuff for the first time in 10 years, and Ryan done the same. So I think timing, it just happens, and we're fully appreciative for that opportunity, and hope it's the beginning of a journey for the club.
I think probably the final thing you say on that is like I've documented to numerous press and podcasts, and even yourself, Curtis, that like glad that we've a partnership right now, because it's a lot. People maybe don't know how much goes into actual football management itself, and especially for the stage of our career, both still playing as well. I'm just glad that we've got a partner that we can rely and trust, and we don't always see eye to eye, and we probably don't always see the same football and opinions either, but we'll find a middle ground and be mutual about it.
And on that, the support team, of Jamie from coming in last year has been brilliant for us. Obviously we're delighted he's here again next year. Baz is a goalie coach, a really experienced guy, and lets us get on with it, and then Donald's a top physio and a top medical member of the medical staff they're all fully bought into what we want to do, so it all helps, and we say, we just hope that this is the real baseline for where we can progress.
What would you say is the biggest thing you've taken away from this season?
Can I answer you in a week?
I think just progress. You've got to keep progressing, or you'll be left behind. You can't get complacent at any time. You can't stop preparing. You can't stop planning. You can't, as much as our missus might disagree, you just can't switch off, or you'll fall behind, and I don't mean don't switch off at all. Of course, you have to have your rest periods and your zone out times, or you drive yourself insane. We're lucky where we've got our jobs that do that for us as well. We're fully committed to our full-time jobs as well. But I think progress and that fear of failure. Nobody wants to fail, and don't want to fail your boy. The boys that are in that dressing room, you don't want to fail them, and then the fans and the club, and Les and that who's put their faith in us.
What's been your proudest moment of the season? Personally or as a team?
As a team, I'm relatively proud that we managed to have such a big turnaround and be so competitive. For half of the season, you could argue we were in a title race. For 34 of the 37 weeks we were in the top two. Ultimately, pretty much all the signings that we made had a good contribution, and I think we just turned the thinking of the club round from not a negative but
a sticky point
to being competitive, and ultimately we've set up that foundation that we can now go again. From a personal point of view, two things for me: probably managed to manage my body really quite well this season with training versus load, and making sure ready for most Saturdays, albeit had about 8 different partners on Saturdays due to them not being available, but and then probably just the personal accolade from everyone who voted for me for getting the Player of the Year, which was really special. You put a lot of time and dedication, graft, and
I think that's a credit to yourself as well, being able to pick up a Player of the Year award whilst being a manager. I think that would be very unique.
Sacrifice as well, and I'm no I'm a realist in this game, and whilst the team was having a difficult period, I had a difficult period on and off the pitch as well, and that's things that people don't see or hear about, and I'm big enough to admit that with myself, and so just glad that I managed to get over that 6-7 week barrier and still be voted, which was it was real meaningful. But thanks to everyone that voted.
Yeah, for me, I think the proudest moment as a team, was obviously when we knew the league was gone and Steny were confirmed. I think we set that target from January, like I mentioned earlier, that we wanted to finish second no matter what, and ultimately we achieved that goal. You would have loved that to meant it's promotion in second place or whatever way. Of course, that's not the script, but it's shown that we've got a real belief in that we can do that. We can achieve what we set out to do. The turnaround in general in the whole club, I think, has been special. And again, just to reiterate, we want it to be the start, of the collaboration between the fans, between the behind the scenes staff, between the board, between ourselves, between the players. And really bring success back to Peterhead, because I think the potential there's outstanding, and if we can keep moving that along in the right direction, then we'll be doing well. Again, a personal point of view, I better mention my daughter being born on that Saturday when all you were fighting in the wind and rain at Forfar. That was a special day all round. I also went in on the Friday night with Lindsay, and Sophia was born the Saturday morning, and then on the phone to the guys before and after the game, and that whole buzz, I don't think I'll ever replicate that. The goals coming through, and obviously with my daughter in my hands, that was a special day. And then obviously I reached some personal milestones as well on the pitch, appearance wise, 300 and 350, and I think my goal on the last day of the season that I managed to deflect Joe's volley in, I think took me to like the top 5 in the club's history, which is it's a proud achievement. And obviously being manager, it's allowed me to take a step back and be out of the team, but we still fully believe that we can both contribute on the pitch as well, and it's just about getting that balance. So all in all, we're obviously as disappointed as we were that we couldn't. Again, we're realists, but we're also ambitious. We had an aim, the club, to get back up, whether that was champions or playoffs, and we have fell short, but again, we just want it to be the start.
What are your short and long term goals for the club, and have your long term goals changed after this season from last?
I think long term, there's a burning ambition of the club deep down to reach as high as they can within the Scottish game that's allowed from a part-time club, which I don't mean allowed as in thing, but I just mean for the being real, to where we should be. And I think obviously the first target is to get into League One and consolidate, and then see where we are. But we know we're a long way off that. We'd have loved to be in that, challenging that position right now, but we're not. So we need to be doing that. That's been on our mind since the Sunday after the playoffs finished. Short term, we're trying to recruit the best possible team for next season and put in place plans for pre-season, which again, that work doesn't stop.
Pretty much exactly that. I think short term we know the areas that we need to strengthen, and there will be some further ins and some more outs. It's just being patient with that and making sure that we get the right calibre. It's probably one thing that we were a bit too not quick to do, but we now know that patience is good in this game. So we have a number of offers out there to certain players for certain positions, but it's something that we're not in a rush to do. I think
we'd love to get things signed and announced tomorrow, but it's just that patience that we really do need to remember. We're only in the end of May.
This one's not a longer or a shorter, but we mentioned the supporters so many times, but the average gate's up. So for the entire of the season, I think it's important that we maintain that, and if not, improve on it.
Get that ultra shed filled out again, because it's been dwindling.
Yeah.
So no, to get them back pre-season, I think would be great, and especially if we can get a good draw on the Betfred and that as well.
And I think as well, just touching on the shorter things, if the shorter things do work and we do bring the right calibre players, no reason why we can't go and push and be really competitive in League 2 again, which ultimately becomes our longer term goal, is getting out the league. And Peterhead's a north-based club, and who knows what the future holds for the club, and especially if you're into League 1, we're way ahead of the game now, but you want to be pulling all the best talent from the north as well, and that's something that we're looking at as well.
It's been a burning ambition, I think, of both of ours. We've obviously came through Aberdeen, we've been at Cove, we've been at Peterhead, and and we never quite feel the North East gets the credit, you know, and it's quite easy to. And of course, we need our South based boys, you know, they're massive for us. Andy's been a tremendous servant and will continue to be, you know, a key player, and even Jamie being the coach now from down there, I think. But yeah, the North East drive to secure the best talent that we can, you know, whether that's on loan from the likes of an Aberdeen, or if it's helping someone pick up their career again after being away from Aberdeen. I think, yeah, that's an ambition as well.
I'll just finish on your two wingers. Note that obviously Jinky came out the other week and is leaving to Australia, and he'll be a huge miss. And then there's a lot of questions regarding Mr. Ritchie and whether he'll be re-signing.
Yeah, I think firstly on Jinky, I think just nothing but thanks for him. You know, I think what he's done in our, we couldn't believe actually when he put up the other day. He'd only been here for 2 seasons. It felt like he was here a lot longer than that. The amount of moments he gave us. He's a typical winger that, you know, was when he was hot, he was real hot, and when he was cold, he would probably be first to admit that he
wanted a blanket.
He wanted a blanket. But no, Jinky's a great character on and off the pitch. And yeah, it's one that, look, again, if that door doesn't work for him in Australia, then we would welcome him back with open arms. He was obviously still under contract, but he did, again, he was upfront and honest with us, you know, a few months ago. Yeah, he's a big one to replace, but again, we've got the targets on that. Hamish, I think I've said enough on Hamish. I think I would absolutely love him to sign a new contract, and as we sit here and speak, it's still on the table. So, but obviously, people maybe don't know that, but Hamish's personal circumstances changed behind the scenes. You know, he moved down the road. He's now living in Edinburgh. He's got his wife over from America and stuff. So we have to be understanding of his personal situation. But without doubt, we'd like to keep him, and I'm sure we'd like to improve him. Yeah.
I think Jinky's speed and
moments of magic.
Yeah, I'm just reiterating basically what he said, but his moments, and when he was hot, he was just a dangerous player in general. His speed, his ability, and his goal scoring, it'll be hard to replace. His 8 goals and his key assists as well, and even just his running power. You don't get players that fast. Hamish is for those that don't know as well, we sort of split our targets and our players throughout the team so that we're not all focusing on, or Jordan's not focusing on all 20 players and all players in the summer. We split it, and Hamish has been dealing with Jordan. So from my point of view, we're desperate to keep him, and he knows that. It'd be a massive loss for us as well, to be honest. That's a hell.
There's no hiding that, yeah. But again, we have to give credit to our board as well, because they've supported us with Hamish right through, and Les has been in regular contact with Hamish's representatives and stuff. So again, yeah, I don't know when this will air, but well, hopefully we're hopeful, but at the same time we're realist. Again, we're realistic in where Hamish is based now, which makes it difficult. But yeah, Hamish should, no matter what, he's been a tremendous servant to Peterhead. You know, from the minute he came in. When again, I feel I had a part to play in that as well with him. Obviously, he was on loan at Cove with us for a wee bit, and then I came back to Peterhead, and then Hamish followed me, and I think he's grown. You know, he's been playing the senior leagues for 10 years, when it's really only maybe 3 or 4, and he's obviously missed a year with Cruciate as well. So yeah, that's where we're at.
Yeah, just finally, really difficult to replace the two of them. Obviously, we know about Jinky, we don't know Hamish's fate now, but just the sheer quality and goals and assists, it'd be really difficult. And characters, to be fair, brilliant characters within the dressing room. So
that's what made so important.
And they were both a really good age, so it'd be really difficult for us to replace.
Yeah, and the only other one that's obviously definitely leaving the club at the moment is Sandy Wood. So yeah. I think it's definitely worth a shout out for Sandy. He's been great. You know, I think he said himself he came in for 1 game against Aberdeen to fill a bench, and he's been here for 2 seasons. And behind the scenes, he's been great. You know, he's supported not just the goalies, but the